He was only 20 years old. He had never lost a battle. He had never run from an enemy. By the age of 30, he had conquered more land than any man in history. His army marched from Greece to Egypt, from Egypt to Persia, from Persia to the edges of India. He built one of the greatest empires the world has ever seen. And then, at just 32 years old, he was gone. His name was Alexander, and they called him the Great. This is his story. Alexander was born on July 20th, 356 BC. He was born in a kingdom called Macedonia. Macedonia was in the north of Greece. It was a strong, proud kingdom, but it was not the most powerful kingdom in the world. Not yet. Alexander's father was King Philip II of Macedonia. Philip was a great warrior and a brilliant king. He expanded Macedonia and built a powerful army. Alexander's mother was Olympias. She was a fierce and passionate woman. She told young Alexander that he was not just the son of a king. She told him he was the son of a god. She said his true father was Zeus, the king of all gods. Alexander believed her. From his youngest days, Alexander believed he was destined for greatness. When Alexander was 13 years old, his father brought a special teacher to the palace. That teacher was Aristotle. Aristotle was the greatest thinker in the ancient world. He taught Alexander philosophy, science, medicine, and art. He taught Alexander how to think, how to question everything, how to understand the world. Alexander loved learning. He especially loved one book, the Iliad, the story of the great Greek warrior Achilles. Alexander read it every single day. He kept a copy under his pillow at night, next to his dagger. He wanted to be like Achilles, brave, glorious, and immortal through his deeds. When Alexander was 16 years old, his father left for war. And he left Alexander in charge of Macedonia. Alexander was only 16, but he ruled wisely and firmly. When a nearby tribe rebelled, Alexander personally led the army. He crushed the rebellion. He founded his first city and named it Alexandropolis. His father returned and saw what his son had done. Philip smiled. He said, "Macedonia is too small for you, my son." He was right. In 336 BC, everything changed. King Philip II was assassinated, murdered at a royal celebration. Alexander was 20 years old. Overnight, he became King of Macedonia. Many people thought the young king would be weak. Neighboring kingdoms saw an opportunity. Tribes rebelled. Enemies laughed. They said, "This boy cannot hold his father's kingdom." Alexander moved fast. Within months, he crushed every rebellion. He marched his army so quickly that enemies did not even have time to prepare. One Greek city, Thebes, dared to rebel against him. Alexander destroyed it completely. He left it as a warning to all others. The message was clear. Do not test Alexander. By 334 BC, Alexander was ready for the greatest adventure in history. He gathered his army, 40,000 soldiers, and he turned his eyes east, toward the Persian Empire. Persia was the largest empire in the world. It stretched from Turkey to Egypt to India. The Persian king was Darius III, powerful, wealthy, and proud. He had an army of hundreds of thousands. Alexander had 40,000. Everyone said Alexander was mad. Alexander smiled, and he marched east. Before crossing into Persia, Alexander stopped at the city of Troy. Troy, the city from his favorite story, the Iliad. He visited the tomb of his hero Achilles. He placed a wreath of flowers on the grave. He said, "I consider you lucky, Achilles. You had Homer to tell your story." Then Alexander looked east, and he crossed into Asia. He would never return to Europe again. In 334 BC, at the Battle of Granicus River, Alexander met the Persian army for the first time. The Persians were stronger in numbers, but Alexander led the charge personally. He rode his black horse Bucephalus directly into the enemy line. An enemy soldier raised his sword to kill Alexander. Another Macedonian soldier jumped in and saved him at the last second. Alexander was almost killed in his very first battle. But he survived, and he won. After defeating Persia's forces at Granicus, Alexander moved deeper into Persian territory. City after city opened its gates to him. People had heard of Alexander. They had heard he was fair to those who surrendered, and terrifying to those who resisted. In 333 BC, Alexander met Darius III himself at the Battle of Issus. Darius brought an enormous army, some say 100,000 soldiers or more. Alexander had 40,000. The battle was fierce and bloody. But Alexander did something unexpected. He saw Darius, the Persian king, on the battlefield, and he rode directly toward him. Darius panicked. He turned his chariot and fled the battlefield. The king of the greatest empire in the world ran away from Alexander. The Persian army collapsed. Alexander won a tremendous victory. He captured Darius's mother, wife, and daughters. But Alexander treated them with complete respect. He told them, "You are queens. You will be treated as queens." Even in victory, Alexander showed honor. Next, Alexander marched south into Egypt. The Egyptians did not resist. They welcomed Alexander as a liberator, a hero who freed them from Persian rule. The Egyptian priests declared Alexander a god. The son of Amun, the greatest Egyptian god. Alexander smiled. This was exactly what his mother had always told him. In Egypt, Alexander founded a new city on the Mediterranean coast. He called it Alexandria. Today, Alexandria is still one of the great cities of the world. After Egypt, Alexander turned east again, toward the heart of the Persian Empire. In 331 BC, at the Battle of Gaugamela, Alexander faced Darius one final time. Darius had assembled the largest army ever seen. Some historians say 1 million soldiers. Alexander had 47,000. The night before the battle, Alexander slept so deeply that his generals had to wake him up. They were terrified. He was completely calm. He said, "The battle is already won." The next day, Alexander executed one of the most brilliant military maneuvers in history. He created a gap in his own line, deliberately. The Persian army rushed into the gap, and Alexander charged directly at Darius through that gap. Darius saw Alexander coming, directly at him, like a force of nature, and once again Darius fled. The Persian Empire, the greatest empire in the world, was finished. Alexander was now king of Persia, but he did not stop. He marched further east, into Afghanistan, into Central Asia, into the lands no Greek had ever seen. In 326 BC, Alexander reached India. He crossed the Indus River. He won the Battle of the Hydaspes against war elephants he had never faced before. But here, his army finally stopped. His soldiers were exhausted. They had been marching for 8 years. They were 10,000 miles from home. They begged Alexander to stop. For the first and only time in his life, Alexander wept. Not from sadness, from frustration, because he wanted to go further. He wanted to reach the end of the world, but he listened to his men, and he turned back. Alexander turned west. He led his army back through the burning deserts of Persia. The journey was brutal. Thousands of soldiers died from heat and thirst in the desert. Alexander suffered with them. He refused to drink water when his men had none. When a soldier brought him a helmet full of water, Alexander poured it onto the ground. He said, "If my men cannot drink, I will not drink either." His soldiers loved him even more for this. By 323 BC, Alexander reached Babylon, the great ancient city in modern-day Iraq. He planned to rest there, and then continue his conquests. He wanted to conquer Arabia next, then the Mediterranean, then, perhaps, the whole world. But in June 323 BC, Alexander fell ill. He had attended a great feast and celebration. After the feast, he developed a high fever. The fever did not break. Day after day, Alexander grew weaker. His generals came to his bedside. They asked him, "Who do you leave your empire to?" Alexander looked at them, and he whispered, "To the strongest." Then he said, "I foresee a great funeral contest over me." He was right. On June 10th, 323 BC, Alexander the Great died. He was 32 years old. He had never lost a single battle. He had conquered 2 million square miles of land. He had marched his army over 20,000 miles. He had built over 20 cities, all named Alexandria, and he died without ever naming a successor. After his death, his generals fought each other for 40 years. His great empire was torn apart. His own mother was murdered. His wife and son were killed. Everything he built was divided. But his name was never divided. His name lived forever. Alexander the Great was gone. But what he left behind changed the world forever. He spread Greek language, art, and culture across 3 continents. Historians call this the Hellenistic Age, the age when Greek ideas spread across the entire known world. Because of Alexander, Greek became the language of science, philosophy, and trade for centuries. Even the New Testament of the Bible was written in Greek because of Alexander's influence. The cities he built became centers of learning and culture. His Alexandria in Egypt became the most important city in the ancient world, home to the greatest library ever built. Alexander once said, "There is nothing impossible to him who will try." He proved it. He started as a young boy from a small kingdom. A boy who read stories of heroes every night before sleep. A boy who dreamed of being great. And he became the greatest conqueror the world has ever known. His story teaches us something simple. Dream big, work hard, and never stop moving forward. Thank you for watching this story on Storia English. If you enjoyed learning English through this story, please subscribe to our channel. Every week, we bring you a new, powerful story from history, told in clear, simple, slow English, so you can improve your listening, your vocabulary, and your confidence, naturally, without stress. We will see you in the next story.